Okay, Buckwheat. Okay. Nobody's here but me, but that's okay. I'm going to just kind of review things from this. Oh, we got someone just popped in here. Looks like a Sam I Am, green eggs and ham. Good stuff. All right. How you doing, Sam? All right.
How are you doing?
I just started recording. I was going to blab all to myself, but no worries. So, how you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Busy day. Busy day.
Busy day? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Seen a lot-
Ever since the new product at Starkey, we've been going crazy here.
Oh, yeah. What's it called?
The Livio AI.
Okay.
Yep.
Livio AI. Up here, it's
fat.
always...
Not
Oh,
very
yeah.
attractive.
No,
Not
it
very
isn't.
attractive.
Ha, crazy.
Yep.
It's a thin tube, not an RIC.
Yep.
Those are usually lower end, or they're usually not as costly as the RICs, but what's that going for?
Our CrossFit's insane. They're wanting us to market this because it has that new AI function with the phone. They want us to market it at about $9.
Wow. You're frozen.
Translates 32 different languages. It's pretty insane.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There we go.
I'm hooked up by way of Ethernet this time because I noticed last time we were a bit shaky, so I've managed to hook up by Ethernet and hope that's a more stable recording for the day. Tell me, do you have any questions regarding any of the units so far? I'm going to just review. That's all I'm doing today. We're not covering any new ground. So I'm just wondering, I had invited last week, if anybody had issues or questions, this was the time to go for it.
I gotcha. No, I was looking through my notes and stuff, and I struggled a little bit with second quiz, but it's one of those after reviewing it and looking through your book, it kind of answered all my own questions, just rereading what I had already read.
Yeah.
So
good.
But
okay.
I think I'm doing pretty decent.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. I'm going to just start at the very beginning over here in good old Unit 1. And what I'm going to do is just highlight some certain things. Can you see this, Sam?
I'm not seeing it right now.
Okay. Not sure exactly. Let's just make sure we're cooking here. Okay, I'm just sharing screen. And I'll share screen here. Now do you see it?
I do.
Good. Okay. All I'm going to do is highlight certain things that I really think people should know, and I'll just move through unit by unit just to make sure people have a grip on here. People should always realize the difference between gain in dB versus output in dB/SPL, and kind of trace that all the way back to good old Acoustics 110, whereby inputs and outputs are always absolute dB values referenced to 0, whereas gain is a total relative value, meaning I can add 50 dB of gain to a 10 dB SPL input, 50 dB of gain to a 20 dB SPL input, and so on. And the analogy I always gave was like time. 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. Central Time is an absolute time. A relative time is 2 hours. I can add 2 hours to 4 p.m. I can add 2 hours to 6 p.m. Think about it kind of like that. This stuff here is just pure review. This stuff here, all what I'm graying out here is complete review from 110 Acoustics. That's all it is. So I'm not going to really be asking these kinds of questions. I'm sort of assuming that you've got the top part, which all relies on this stuff that's grayed out. Same with this. This is, again, review. You can't add 90 dB SPL and 90 dB SPL, or this whole thing about one machine making 85, another one doing the same thing, the total's 88. I guess that would be a gain of 3 dB. 85 plus 3 is 88. Cool. And then input-output functions, moving on to that, it's very important to know that the frequency represented on input-output functions is always 2000, unless otherwise stated. That's an ANSI rule. I didn't make it up. Carrying on here, looking at the differences between, of course, frequency responses and input-output functions. If I go to the first PowerPoint we had here, and I scroll way down, we get out of all this hair cell stuff. and we look over to, okay, right here. These are going to be linear gain. Anybody reading this, if I ever asked, what's the linear gain here? Well, I guess if you're looking at number 4, this was when hearing aids had volume controls on them. They barely do anymore because everybody's using compression. But when hearing aids do have volume controls, let's look at number 4 line. That means 0 in is 60 out. And of course, 20 in is 80 out. And 40 in is 100 out. And the trick about this, of course, is as you move to the right, your gain goes down. We got another one tuning in here. Good. Hey, Angela, how's it going? Sorry, I'm late. They call me late for supper. Okay, so, and again, to interpret this, let's just look at, for example, this knee point right up here. If I crank up my volume, if I put 50 dB in, I get 110 out. But if I turn down my volume, when I put 50 dB in, I only get like 82 out. Okay? Always remember, gain is output minus input. As the diagonal lines go to the right, the gain goes down. Now, I had asked Sam earlier too, and I'll ask you, Angela. Last week I invited anybody who had questions for this review to please ask. So Sam had a couple. He mentioned something about quiz 2. Do you have any questions? Now that you've just arrived on the scene, is there anything that comes to your mind that you'd like me to go over?
Yes, I do. I should have had my notes up here.
Good.
Gosh.
No worries. Take your time.
Okay. Okay, so this is, okay.
A classic name for a student, Angela Student.
I know it. Okay. Which control is most apt for severe, profound hearing loss?
Got it. Okay, that is going to be good old Unit 3. So I will go to good old Unit 3, I believe it is, and here we would be. Okay. And also the PowerPoint slide for that particular one here. Okay, great. So when we're looking at types of controls here you're looking at 2 types of compression. Okay, on the left, output limiting, on the right, WDRC. Now, when we move to the types of adjustments you can make on those, keep the left on the left. Okay, so this here is talking about here. So in this graph here, I could take this, I could copy it, and I could paste it, and now my MPO is here. Or I could paste it again, and now my MPO is here. And if I look at the next slide, that's exactly what you're seeing. Okay, so what would be the control most beneficial for someone with severe hearing loss? It would be this kind of adjustment, because output limiting compression was usually high power. And when you're dealing with high power, always remember input plus gain is output. So if your input is, say, speech, and you've got like a 70 dB gain hearing aid, it's going to be average speech input, 65, plus 70. That would give you like 135. So I kind of go, yeah, I think this kind of adjustment would be rather cool because I'd want to lower that from 135 down to a more reasonable, I'd want to cut it down to a dull roar. So the kind of adjustment that's most apt for severe loss is going to be an MPO, maximum power output adjustment. Okay? Now when you look at the right, here you're dealing with WDRC. And WDRC hearing aids are weaker. They're meant for outer hair cell damage, a lesser loss. And the kind of adjustment I'd want to make for them would be more like this kind of adjustment. The blues going left and right here. I'd want to be able to move this gain here over to the right or over to here. I'd want to be able to do that kind of stuff. Why? Because it's a weaker hearing aid. And what is WDRC doing? It's providing linear. Look at the linear, the blue portion, 1-to-1. That's always more than compression. Compression is always less gain. So it's providing linear gain for the soft inputs. And that's exactly what outer hair cells do. So when someone's got outer hair cell damage, he or she has a mild to moderate loss. About 30 to 50, just something like that. Mrs. Jones, Mrs. McGillicuddy doesn't have a severe to profound loss. You're not worried about the MPO stuff. You're not worried about that at all. You're worried about lifting the floor. Instead of governing the ceiling, now your focus is like a magnifying glass. You're going, how much do I want to imitate the outer hair cells? How much do I want to do? How much is that doggy in the window? What do I want to do? Well, if I give maximum gain, and remember, your gain goes more as you go left. So if I give maximum gain for soft inputs, then it may very well be that in quiet, the guy's hearing the hearing aid hiss because you're hearing the internal noise of the hearing aid. How come? Because it's giving maximum gain for soft inputs. And then when I start to talk, that goes away because my input is normal. You're no longer in dead quiet. I'm talking. But then I stop talking. And once again, the hearing aid, it's providing maximum gain because it's WDRC. It's giving linear gain to soft inputs. So in quiet, the hearing aid is making crap. It's making noise. And that's why you would want to be able to adjust the gain for those soft sounds. You'd want to be able to move this over to here.
Floor up.
Yeah, in other words, you're making the floor, you're giving less gain for soft sounds. As I move here, I'm giving less gain for soft sounds. Moving here, I'm giving even less gain for soft sounds. Moving over here, of course, I'm giving maximum gain for soft sounds. So this would be very good for the person who, for example, now here let's see if I can find my good old share screen again, because I get, there we go. So for the guy who has good hearing in the low frequencies, that person is going to hear internal noise. That person, guys, because he's got like 10 or 15 dB thresholds in the lows, he's going to be the one hearing in quiet. If the person had a flat loss, screw it. I just provide the maximum gain for soft sounds. Like I wouldn't even adjust the TK. So that's really what it was.
Okay.
TK was adjusting the amount of gain for soft inputs. MPO was adjusting the amount of maximum output for loud inputs. One's looking at the ceiling, the other one's looking at the floor.
Okay. So profound hearing loss, you would want, I was just there.
You'd want output limiting here, compression, high knee point, high ratio, high power hearing aid, and you'd want to work on that MPO control. That would be your control of interest, because you don't want to cause more hearing loss. Okay?
Right. Okay.
You don't want to cause more hearing loss.
Right,
so the concern is the maximum power output of the hearing aid.
Okay.
Okay. Mild to moderate loss is using wide dynamic range compression. There you're not worried because the hearing aids are weaker. So you're not worried about the MPO. You're not worried about, because the MPO is going to be low anyway. You're worried about how much amplification do I want to give to soft sounds. In other words, how badly do I want to imitate those outer hair cells? Because my heart may be in the right place. I may think, yeah, I really want to give maximum gain for soft sounds, because that's what the outer hair cells did. They amplified sounds below 50 so that the inners could pick them up. Oh, but my heart's in the right place, but guess what? The hearing aid sucks. It sounds terrible. In quiet, he's hearing. So I want to reduce that. So I will back off on my amplification for soft sounds. Hence the TK control. Cool. Any other ones? Any other questions?
I've got a whole list. So if somebody else is here and they want to
here. Nobody's here. Sam Christensen has been tuning in, so you got it, kiddo.
I'm so lucky. A personal tutoring session with Dr. Benema.
Chances are when you ask, it's probably other people have the same question.
Okay.
That always happens. So go ahead.
I got mixed up on this one. The question was a true or false, of course, and
Okay.
it says the longer the 45-degree line, the more
Mhm.
gain is
Correct.
being shown.
Good. Well, let's look at that. Here
Okay.
we go. Okay, I'm going to go to practice. I think it's going to be practice reading. Here you go. Okay. And let's move to, okay, here we go. Let's look at, for example, this guy here. Okay, can you see this? Can you see this, Angela, or not?
Now share screen, please.
Okay, share screen. Have a heart. Okay. So let's see how I can do that. Okay, share screen. Oh, that would hurt. That wouldn't hurt. Okay. Here we are. And now I can pick that guy. Here.
Yes,
Can
I'm
you see
looking
that
at the
now?
notes. Okay, I'm looking at, yep,
Good.
PowerPoint.
Okay, look at the left corner. 0 in, 70 out. Right?
Right?
Now look at 10. 10 in,
Uh-huh.
80 out. What's the gain? 70.
Okay.
Here, now look at the 20. 20 input, 90
Mhm.
output. What's the gain? 70.
70.
30 in, 100 output. What's the gain? 70. So guess what? I'm making this line longer and longer and longer, and the gain, it hasn't changed a whit. So if I'm looking now at 40 in, 110 out. What's the difference? 70. 50 in, 120 out. What's the difference? 70. So it's saying 70, 70, 70, 70. So if I stop the line here, my gain is 70. If I stopped it here, my gain is 70. If I stopped it here, it's 70. It don't matter. I could drive this all the way to Springfield or to Kansas City, and the gain isn't going to change. The only thing that's going to change this gain is if I did this, and I will copy just for fun, and I will paste, and I will do this. This changes the gain.
And that's what I was thinking
That
we were
changes gain.
talking about.
So let's look here, just for
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
Let's look at 50 going in. 50 in, 120 out. What's my gain? 70.
70.
Now let's look at the 50, but with this line over here.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now 50 in is 110 out. What's the gain? 60.
60.
Yeah. So just let the picture tell the story. As I move this guy to the right, my gain keeps going down.
And I bet that was the word I should have listened to instead of as the line gets longer.
Yeah.
I was thinking as the line moves to the right.
No, it's
Okay.
the length of the 45-degree angle means diddly
Okay.
squat. It means nothing. It's if I move it left or right, that's what changes gain. Of course, MPO is this. Okay?
Yes.
But
yes.
gain is that line going left or right. That's the trick to reading input-output functions. And who cares why? Just realize, and if you're looking at it going, I don't really get it, just go look like this. Just go, well, if I move that here, 50 in, 120 out with this line over here, that's 70.
Uh-huh.
Here, though, 50 in is only 100 out. Huh, that's only a difference of 50, I guess.
Okay.
Good question.
It makes sense now.
Good.
Yep. Check.
Next question.
Next question, please. Get down there. Okay. Which I/O function is associated with WDRC? And I chose the right one.
Now, are we looking at a quiz here?
Yes, we are looking at, these are some questions that I missed. Okay. We're looking at quiz 2, actually.
Okay, let's see if I can find that, okay?
Okay.
Up here, and you're looking at quiz number 2. Keep going. Quiz number 2, and that would be here. I believe that's it. 118.
Okay. For 240, yep.
Yeah, I'll just pull it up here.
Oh, okay.
Now, are you talking these two graphs over here? Or not? Tell me.
Well, I was working off the computer,
Yeah.
off of Canvas, a quiz that we had at the end of the week.
Okay, so I'm not sure which quiz that was. It wasn't this one then, right?
No, this was something we would have downloaded, filled out, and put back in, and then submitted.
I think I think Lynn has gotten quizzes, and she's also got these little practice things. There's both of those, and I'm not sure which. I can't really picture what it is that you were describing, but I think I find it. I can't. If you could, can you hold it up and show me? Because I just can't see it.
You know, you're not going to be able to see much of it. It's just this. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. It's just that. You see.
And what does it read? Tell me, what does it say? Okay, I see question number 8.
And the question was, which I/O function associated with WDRC? Which I/O function is associated with WDRC? Circle one, left or right or neither.
Okay, and do you have can you show me the two graphs? Can I see them?
So I think that might have been the problem. We didn't have a graph. Okay, let's skip that one. That'll be a good one for me to ask Miss Royer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, okay. Because we got to be able to see the graph to answer the question.
Right. Okay.
We'll leave that guy. Just leave that one.
Okay. Okay, here we go. My gosh, I don't know why we have all this. The left one shows blank and the compress. Okay. The left one shows, and I put Bill and Till, or Bill compression, and the right one shows Till compression. But the actual answer was the left one shows output, input. Oh, I'm sorry. Left one shows output, the compression. The right one shows
input compression. Let
me
show you something here. Okay. I think we're dealing with a quiz that I don't even see, but I'll show it to you because I know this in my head. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go. You are going to have one graph looking a lot like this, and it's going to be called output, or AGCO.
AGCO. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Now that concerned what the volume control did in a circuit, VC. Okay? And if a hearing aid was output compression, it meant that the volume control changed the gain. There's those gain lines going left or right. But it didn't change the MPO. Didn't touch the MPO at all. So you, the clinician, would set the MPO based on the guy's loudness discomfort levels. Okay? And then the client could adjust the hearing aid gain till the cows came home. But it would never change the MPO.
Okay.
The clinician had set that. So that was appropriate for high power hearing aids, where once again, you don't want to cause hearing loss. So you, the clinician, because you know what you're doing, the guy's UCL is maybe 100, so you're going to add about 15 to that. You're going to put the MPO at like 115 or something, and then that's the way it's going to sit. And the guy can't change that, okay? He can adjust the volume till the cows come home, but it ain't going to touch this MPO line at all.
Okay.
The other type was called input compression, and it went like this. Okay? That meant when the guy changed his volume control, it changed the gain, but it also changed the MPO.
Right.
That was good for weaker hearing aids, WDRC. So this one would have been associated with WDRC. This one would have been associated with output limiting compression. But guess what? It ain't an issue anymore, because today's digital hearing aids do that crap automatically. So we're not worried about that.
Okay.
I just kind of took you guys through it as practice for reading input-output functions. To tell you the truth, I wouldn't even know why that would be on an exercise, because it's basically yesterday's news. So don't worry about that one at all.
Awesome.
We don't care.
Awesome. Okay.
This is good.
I love this.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Boy, here's the deal.
Good.
I'm having a dickens of a time with these numbers. So,
Okay.
a 20-to-1 compression ratio
Yes.
means as the input increases by 10 dB,
Mm-hmm.
the output increases by, and of course I put 2 dB, and it's supposed to be 5 dB.
It's supposed to be 0.5 dB. Let's just look at it here.
Okay.
If you have a 10-to-1 compression ratio, okay?
Yeah,
That means
yeah.
as the input goes up by 10, the output goes up by only 1.
Right.
Okay, the first number always represents increases to input, and the second number represents increases to output. So if you are in compression, like, and I'll show you now, I'll share screen and show you a picture here so you can see it better. Share. Be nice, Ted, and share. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, if you look here, I'm going to get rid of this line. Okay, so this would be like a 10-to-1 compression ratio. Watch this. My input, it's unfortunate the numbers have slid, but you know what I mean. Watch this. I'll slide this. I'll just move that 70 over a little bit there. That lines up better. Okay, now, so 70 in. Good grief, 140 out. Yikes, that's a mother of a hearing aid. Don't worry about it. But as my input went from 70 to 80, look what's happening here. My input now went up to 80. How much did my output go up by?
By 1.
1. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, what happens if you had a 20-to-1 compression ratio? Well, let's just kind of take this home. Okay, here's a 10-to-1 in red. Okay, so this red here is showing you the same thing as this slide here. What's going on here, I have printed up in red here. Okay, 0 in, output, or actually that's 70, this is 60, but watch this. 0 in, 60 out, gain of 60. 10 in, 70 out, gain of 60. 20 in, 80 out, gain of 60. And so on, and so on, and so on, until you get to the knee point.
Yes.
Here's your asterisk.
Yes.
60 in, 120 out. My gain is still 60. You can see it here. Okay?
Uh-huh.
But now the proverbial crap hits the fan. As I went up to 70, my output only went up by 1 dB. That's a 10-to-1 ratio. Got it?
Okay, okay.
As my input went up to 80, my output went up by only, whoops, get that crap off of there. My output, again, went up by only 1 dB. Okay?
Okay.
So you can see that. You see 60, 120, 70, 121, 80, 122. Okay, are you with me so far?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now look at the gold. That's 20-to-1. Okay?
Okay.
So as my input went up by 10, and you see my cursor here?
Mm-hmm.
Put here only goes up by a half.
A 0.5.
0.5. Half. Okay?
Okay.
So that's what I mean. So 20-to-1 means, hey, if my input goes up by 20 dB, now look at here, go from 60 to 80. As my input goes from 60 to 80, yep, I went up by 1 dB. My output went up by 1. Because at 60 input, my output was at 120. 80 input, my output was 121. Here, 60 input was 120 out, and 70 input was 121 out. Okay, so this is a 10-to-1 ratio, but this here is a 20-to-1 ratio. So if 10 dB input increase results in a 1 dB output increase, that's a 10-to-1 ratio. But if a 10 dB input increase results in a half a dB output increase, that's a 20-to ratio. That's a 20 to 1 ratio. Because here in gold, I needed to go from 60 to 80 in order for the output to go from 120 to 121. Whereas here, I go from 60 to 70. Okay. My input increased from 60 to 70, and my output went up by only 1. In gold, my input was 60, and when I went to 70, my output only went up by a half. I needed 20 dB increase to get a 1 dB output increase. That's all it is.
Okay, that again, light bulb has went on.
Good. Okay.
Good.
Okay, that's all it is. 20 to 1 is like 10 to 0.5. In other words, you can do this, Angela. I'm going to draw it here. 20 is to 1. What 10, and now I'll stop sharing so I can show you.
Is to 0.5.
Yeah, 20 is to 1. What 10 is to x. So if you want to find out what x is, 1 times 10 is 10 divided by 20. 10 divided by 20 is 0.5. Okay? So the answer here would be 0.5. So a 20 to 1 ratio means that if I went up by 10 dB, my output only went up by a half a dB instead of 1 dB.
Right.
Good.
Oh.
It's worth it. It's worth it to ask the questions. It's all it is. It's not meant to be rocket science, but it's just kind of like, fractions a little bit,
I know. Yeah, I thought I was going to have to do math or something.
Nah. Keep it simple. There's no trigonometry. There ain't no calculus. There's no algebra on this course.
Excellent.
Just fractions. Go for it.
Okay. We are done with that list. Now let's move on to this one.
Good.
I just want to make sure that I'm thinking correctly. I read ahead on the notes, and the original Widex Senso had 3 channels.
Correct. Yeah.
The Oticon Digifocus, and I'm going to try to do this from memory, had 7 bands?
You're right.
And 2 channels?
Correct. It had 7 bands. If I draw it like this with my fingers, there you go.
Yeah.
And a group of 3 was called channel 1, and this was called channel 2.
Okay.
So all channels are bands that share a digital command, a digital algorithm, a digital thing. So, and you're going to get more of this as we go into digital. After our midterm, we're going to move out of compression, and we're going to talk more about channels and bands and noise reduction and directional mics, all that good stuff.
Okay.
What you're going to notice that bands just concern frequency ranges. This might be 250 hertz. This is 500 hertz. This is 1,000. This is 2. But then you got a whole bunch of bands, and they represent everything from 125 all the way to 8,000, let's say. Yes. But then if I group my bands and say, okay, these guys, I want you to do Bill. And these guys, I want you to do Till. Or these guys, I want you to use digital noise reduction. These guys, we don't need it. That kind of stuff.
Okay.
So when you group bands together that share a digital algorithm, that's called a channel.
Beautiful. Makes sense. That's why you want lots of channels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. That's why hearing aids that are really flexible have a lot of different channels to them. You really want all that flexibility. You'd rather have 8 little fingers than 2 fat palms. Okay?
Yeah.
If I can do this or this or this, I'd rather be able to do any little thing I want. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And the sampling rate refers to our intensity resolution.
Oh, yeah. No, you guys you're ahead. You are ahead. We're not even there.
Yeah, but this is due.
Due? Isn't that weird?
Look. Let me see.
Oh, Lord.
Quiz
The
3.
original one. Oh, that's quiz 3. When's that due?
This Sunday.
Oh, Lord. I'm going to have to write Lynn Roy or a letter or an email because we haven't covered that yet.
Yeah.
That's kind of like later on. We're doing that after the midterm. See, that's kind of like moving ahead too far. We haven't even covered that in our notes. That's in unit 5.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I went ahead and read ahead on my notes, and that's why I wanted to confirm with you that I was reading correctly.
You are, yeah.
The channel free hearing aids are said to operate in the time domain.
Yeah, that's Bernafon.
Okay.
Symbio, and I don't even think they make that anymore, to tell you the truth, but don't worry about that. But yes, hearing aids today, basically they all have channels,
Okay.
except for the Symbio. The Symbio worked differently. They didn't divide into channels. They worked something, it was almost like an analog hearing aid that constantly readjusted itself really quickly. It had one channel or just a single, but don't worry about it. It was a different philosophy.
All over the place. Okay.
And I don't even think Bernafon's making that puppy anymore. It's a nice hearing aid. It sounded neat. But you're way ahead. You're way ahead. Like, we're not even, I haven't even touched that in notes. I haven't done a Zoom session on it. There's been no PowerPoint on that. So it's kind of hard to, but also
I know to try to
an email and ask her because I would extend the due date on that one. There's no need for you should be concentrating on the stuff that we've covered.
Yes.
And that's the purpose of this review, is to really, make sure that people are ready for the midterm, because to me, the midterm covers everything up to Unit 4, up through Unit 4. Unit 1 had linear, and that was this with input-output functions. And then Unit 2, I believe, was OLC versus WDRC. Unit 3 was summary and bill and till. Programmable multi-channel, and Unit 4 was dynamic aspects of compression, attack release times.
Yep.
And that's it.
Okay.
Chop the knife there. Cut the loaf in half.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So do you want me just to put this to the side, or can I ask you just a couple more?
You're welcome to ask. Go for it. You can ask.
Phase cancellation is a popular approach to DNR in today's digital hearing aids. Now, I say that's true. That's not.
I'll tell you why. You're asking a great question, and this is fine. Have you ever bought noise reduction headphones?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody likes them. They work pretty good. And so I've had an engineer ask me, Ted, how come we don't use that in our hearing aids? It works great in the headphones, so why the heck aren't you using that in the hearing aids? Well, here's why. I'm wearing a headphone. It's spitting sound in my ear. And at the same time, at the outside of the headphone, there's a little mic. Somewhere maybe just a little dot. Now, I'm listening to the headphone, and it's noisy in the room. So noise is leaking in under the headphone and getting into my ear. So I've got the sound coming out of my speaker this way, coming into my ear, but also noise is leaking in underneath the headphone. So I've got noise and I've got the sound I want to hear at my ear. And I'm thinking, well, that's crap. Turn on the noise reduction. So I do, and a little tiny mic here is picking up the noise in the room, and they invert the phase. And then they spit it in there. So now I've got noise happening that's leaking in here, and noise picked up here is put into my ear canal, but it's in opposite phase. So it cancels out.
Oh.
It cancels out. In other words, I'll draw it for you. I've got the sound coming into my hearing aid like this.
Yes.
Okay, there's the sound. And the mic on the outside, and call that the noise, the crap that's coming into the hearing aid, into your ear. It's leaking in.
Okay.
The mic on the outside of the headphone is also picking up the noise, and it's doing this. It's inverting the phase. It's making it opposite.
Oh.
And when you add the top one and the bottom one together, you've got the sound of one hand clapping. Nothing.
Wow.
You cancel it out. So the sound waves coming in, the noise is leaking in, but a mic on the outside of my headphones also picking up the noise, and the headphone is turning it upside down, inverting its phase. So now the noise cancels out, and just the speech is heard. Now think about a hearing aid. Hearing aids don't have that luxury because they got a mic on the outside that's picking up both the speech and the noise. So if I invert the phase of that, I'm canceling out both the speech and the noise.
And you get no speech.
However, the sound you want to hear is coming out of the headphone, and the noise is leaking in, but a mic is also picking up the noise from the outside. The mic out here isn't picking up the speech. The hearing aid, the headphone's producing the speech. The mic isn't. The mic's just picking up the bull crap noise. Okay, and that's the stuff you want to cancel out. So this mic picks up the noise, flips it upside down, and it cancels out the noise that leaked in under the headphone, leaving just the speech you wanted to hear. But again, hearing aids don't have that luxury. They got a mic that's picking up both the speech and the noise. So they can't use that. And that's a good thing to know, because engineers, you're going to get the worst clients to have are engineers. You're going to get an engineer in your office, and you're going to be fitting this person with a hearing aid, and he or she's going to ask you questions like that. Well, if you can put it in noise reduction headphones, how come you can't put it in the hearing aid? Well, here's why. Okay, so when you look at the PowerPoint slide that goes with it, and I'll be covering that in a Zoom session when we reconvene, but you're just getting a heads up on it. There is a reason why, okay? Hearing aids have a mic on the outside. They can't, if they flip that signal upside down, you're turning both the signal and the noise. You're turning the speech and the noise opposite in phase. Now you really can't hear anything. Okay?
Okay. Let's see.
The kind of digital noise reduction used, though, in today's digital hearing aids uses amplitude modulation. You know what that means? I'll show you a picture of it. Amplitude modulation means this. Noise is going to make a waveform like this. Just blah, okay? Mm-hmm. Speech is weird. Speech does this. And I'm going to draw it for you. And then speech, it's going wow, 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 wow. So when you think of a fan or an air conditioner, it's steady. I'm going to draw lines on it just like this. It's steady in intensity over time. But the sound of my flapping gums is and that's called AM, amplitude modulation. And speech modulates. It changes in intensity as opposed to noise, like a fan or an air conditioner, which is steady.
Okay.
That's how digital noise reduction works. If the sound coming into the hearing aid is like this, the hearing aid says, reduce the gain. And if the sound coming into the hearing aid changes in intensity over time, the hearing aid says, oh, it must be speech, amplify.
That's so smart.
Yeah, it is. However, what if the noise happens to switch off and on really quickly? Like, what if it's a really weird sound going, then the hearing aid's going to amplify the crap out of it because it's going to think it's speech. It only works if the background noise is steady, like a fan or an air conditioner.
Okay.
That's why DNR, digital noise reduction, isn't really the cat's meow. It's the best thing about it, though, is it makes you comfortable in noise. Usually, it doesn't increase the percent of words that you understand. It doesn't really improve your speech recognition. Only directional mics do that. But it addresses your comfort in noise. And if you're comfortable in noise, you're going to wear the hearing aid, and it won't be sitting in a drawer. So digital noise reduction is kind of like the heart, and directional mics is like the head. One's the science, one's the art. One's the head, one's the heart. It needs to be a person. So you'll be learning about that later on too. D-mics, directional mics, objectively truly do increase your signal to noise ratio. They truly do enable you to hear better in noise. But digital noise reduction makes you feel better in noise. And both are important. They're both twins. They're good.
Yeah, very much so.
But this is definitely moving ahead because we haven't even covered this crap. I mean, I haven't even touched this. I have no intention of even going over this until your midterm is done. And I think your midterms start on the 10th of October.
Yes.
Okay. Next week, I'm going to be in another city. I'm making a presentation, and I may hold a review Zoom session, but it'll be from the hotel room. Okay. It will be at a different time, but I'll send everybody an email to let people know as to what next week's Zoom session is, because next week, I think, is the 2nd of October.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit ahead. We are ahead of time in this class, which is good. I'd rather be ahead than behind.
Right. Except for when it comes to this.
Yeah. So really take a good, any other further questions come to mind, I will tune in. I'll send people an email and let them know about what the alternative Zoom session time will be. But again, I invite people to come in and talk. You're the only one who's taken me up. Sam did, but then he had to go. But that's okay. He's in a busy clinic. He watches these things later on, has them going on, and then comes back to them. But do you have any other questions?
Just real quick, I know what the amplifier is. I know that the analog hearing aids, basically, their two transductions are acoustic and electrical.
Yep, that's it.
I know that I know about AD and DA, but I'm not sure. My question is, digital hearing aids basically do 4 transductions. Now, is that the acoustical, the electrical, the AD, and the DA?
Kind of. It's the mic changes sound into electricity. The electricity is sent to that DSP processor in the middle.
Yes.
And that A to D means analog to digital. So the mic changes sound into electricity. The AD takes the electricity and changes it into numbers. Digits, because that's what digital does, digits. And then the DSP processor in the middle is blah, 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 doing stuff according to your fitting method, providing gain and whatever it's doing. And then you have your D to A, and that's digits back to electricity. To analog. And then the speaker or receiver changes it back into sound. So instead of sound into electricity back into sound, it's sound into electricity into digits back into electricity into sound. Okay? So that's just more step to it. Analog, sound into electricity. The electricity is amplified. The amplified electricity is changed back into sound. Digital, the mic is still analog. The receiver is still analog. So there's nothing magic about that. That never changed. But what changed is instead of just having an amplifier, you've got a D to A converter, a digital signal processor, and then an A to D, or you got A to D, then signal processor, then D to A. So all it means is sound into electricity, electricity into digits. The digits are manipulated inside, and then the digits are changed back into electricity, and the electricity is changed back into sound.
That's quite a worm.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, So analog, sound into electricity into sound. Digital, sound into electricity into digits into electricity into sound.
Gotcha.
Hey, how are you?
Okay.
There used to be a volcano in Iceland that took place about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was on the news, and nobody could pronounce it except the Icelanders. Eyjafjallajökull. They called it. I memorized it. I have a shirt that even says it. It's easy to say. Eyjafjallajökull. But it was this long name, and all the newscasters were going, there's a big volcano in Iceland called Eyjafjall, and nobody could say it. It's like a real tongue twister. Anywho, M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-P-P-I. I-P-P-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-M. I guess that's Mississippi forward and backwards.
I do. Humpback, crooked letter.
There you go. Or Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some better butter, but the bitter butter made the better butter bitter. There you go.
Wow.
All right. With that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, shoot me an email, and I'll shoot people an email as a class, as a group, and let you know what time next week's Zoom session will be, because I will be out of town, won't be at home, but I'll be doing the Zooms from the road, from the hotel. So Adios. Live long and prosper. Thank you very much, Angela, for asking the questions. It wouldn't be the same without you. All right. Cheers.
We think you're great. Talk to you next time.